Content over everything!
It's more environmentally friendly to be vegan anyway.
Yeah, veganism would minimise land usage, crop use, the use of bees. As
It is. I'm in total agreement with you that sustainable land management is extremely important and it has to be managed. We have to limit the amount of meat we eat. We have to take responsibility for the fact that we are killing other life forms to eat. I'm not saying you are wrong when you argue that. I'm saying completely taking animals out of the food and farming system is changing the way that the whole environment is operating, and so what is saying we want to change the way the environment operates. The environment operates.
We're wrecking the environment.
We're already changing the way the environment operates.
Yes, at the moment we are wrecking the environment, not just because we use animals. In fact, the use of animals in farming systems over millennia has proven in the African...
But we don't need to anymore. We've got our technology is so advanced we can find other alternatives.
Technology is not the only answer. Technology of creating technologically produced food, that it does not have the complexity of nutrients that we need. We think, okay, we isolate with technology, we isolate that nutrient and we only eat that nutrient that makes us healthy. That is bullshit, because we as a complex system need a very complex nutrition, and that nutrition includes a variety of things, not just
nutrition is just a numbers game. Nutrition is just a numbers game.
Not.
Yes,
it is. It's not.
I've studied it, mate.
It is a very complex...
I study nutrition.
Well, this is what I do for a living, is working with organic agriculture and management systems. That's my job.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that going with sustainable, organic, natural farming systems, including humane use of animals in that system,
all animal use is unnecessary.
Do you agree
that is a very blanket, generalized statement, which is not the case. When you go to Africa, you go to the African islands.
In first world countries, we don't need to use animals.
Now, okay, first world. Now, whoa. Now you're going in a whole different direction.
I'm not saying it's wrong to use animals for survival. I would too.
I'm not saying survival. I'm not talking about.
I'm talking about survival.
You're making a value judgment that an African system.
Well, murder is permitted. Murder is permitted when it's for survival. If I had to kill someone for self-defense, that's justified.
Do you acknowledge you can, in your situation, go vegan? You don't need to exploit animals.
You can make the choice to go vegan, yes. I'm not saying, I'm not even arguing that point, but what I'm saying, taking it through into an ideological position like you are doing, I think is going way too far. It becomes an ideological position when it becomes reductionist. Once it becomes reductionist, it does not, doesn't appreciate and look at the whole complexity of the ecosystem. And the complexity of the ecosystem is way beyond saying vegan is the answer.
We're not saying if you were interested in the ecosystem,
is the answer. You have to have a managed, holistic system, and veganism, I think, is becoming a reductionist approach, not a holistic system. That's my position on
I think if we're interested in preserving the ecosystem for what it is, we have to go vegan and minimise our land usage, resource usage.
I don't believe vegan is the way to go.
Do you know how much rainforest is cut down every second?
I know all of those figures. I use them every day in my work.
Okay.
But vegan is not the solution. Sustainable land management, where animals and humans operate together in that system, is the way.
That makes it sound like we're in a contract with animals, but we're not. We use them against their will. They don't they can't give consent.
And you make a logical difference between a so-called sentient animal and a non-sentient animal.
Absolutely.
No, the ecosystem is one complete system.
But you didn't stop Sardo when he jumped on the grass just there. So you know there is a that's a silly point. I can run around and I can kick a dog and then everybody will attack me. Yes.
But I jump on the grass and that is.
You make a value judgment too. You make a value judgment too. You're not consistent.
No, I'm being completely consistent. You're being inconsistent
no,
here.
How
That yes,
am I
we
being
can.
inconsistent? I'm saying all
in this part
sentient
of the
beings
world, we
are...
don't eat dogs because it has been socially conditioned not to eat dogs. But when you go to another part of the world, it's the other way around. In South Africa, we don't eat horses because we see them as our companions.
Okay.
The rest of the world eating a horse is no problem. Though that is a cultural inconsistency. And veganism, I think, is also it's a first world solution, or a so-called first world solution to a planet that is way more complex than just saying we're going to make the whole of the world, Southeast Asia, Africa, we're going to change all of that and everybody's going to become vegan and that will solve the problem.
We could feed Africa twice over with the amount of crops we use to feed farmed animals. There's a Buddhist philosopher.
That is true, and I don't dispute that fact. So we can. we can say that is one solution. But saying vegan, we say vegetarianism. Now, vegetarianism also, you exploit animals, and they kill a lot of animals in the dairy industry.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's humane, but a system that focuses more on vegan and vegetarian practices in our consumption, but understanding that we have a complex ecosystem where animals and humans are part of that system and operate within that system. I think you cannot move away from that. We cannot reduce it to an ideology.
But you're talking about symbiosis there, and I don't think farming animals is any form of symbiosis, because those animals do not want to be eaten or to be exploited.
Well, those animals only exist because of that. They were bred by humans to become just like dogs. Dogs did not exist in the wild. They were bred by us.
But then we're dog fighting if it was humane and the dogs have gum shields and everything so they don't harm each other as much. Would that be symbiosis? Because hey, I've bred the dog and I'm feeding the dog and giving them water.
And then getting to bite each other with gum. I like that one. It's no, I just think I believe that the vegan argument, I have a lot of sympathy with that, and I think that is the way that we should go more and more towards that kind of diet, because that's more sustainable. But taking animals out of the system completely is not the solution.
Just because they can't give consent. That's the thing. You know, they can't give consent to us using them or their byproducts.
Well, that's the same as the tree can also not give consent.
But come on,
you know that there's
there's a difference, because we do not understand the complexity. The more we realize and we start studying the complexity of a forest system and the let's say what they say, the intelligence of a forest system. That includes the animals, it includes the microbes in the soil, the arthropods, the earthworms, all of these living units working in a very complex system together and creating similar to what we see in the internet, seeing a collective knowledge, a collective intelligence that sits there, that you cannot pinpoint the central nervous system. No, you cannot say the tree has a central nervous system, but it senses, it reacts to stimuli, it feeds its young, it recognizes that a smaller tree, it sends carbon through the mycelia, it does a lot of things to help preserve the forest system. Now that is an intelligence.
I'm not saying plants aren't intelligent. Plants are intelligent, but they're not sentient.
Well, that is again our judgment, what we consider what sentient is.
Well, sentience is the ability.
A computer is intelligent, but a computer is not sentient. So it responds to external stimuli, and it can work.
Well, I would not go as far as saying that a computer system is the same as a forest system. But somewhere these things are. I think we cannot get beyond that. To me, that's my position, and I'm not, as I say, I'm for sustainable, humane, reducing the use of reducing animal protein as part of our diet. All of those things need to happen. Yeah. Absolutely, they need to happen. And veganism, as one of the solutions in there, as part of that system, I think also has its place. But saying veganism is the only way to solve this problem, I think is way too.
Well, I'm not claiming that. I'm not saying it's like an environmental panacea. I'm just saying we shouldn't treat animals as objects, given that they're sentient.
I did not disagree with that, but I did say that we cannot. If we start making these linear reductions between what is and what isn't.
But you make those reductions too.
I try not to. No, we all do. But when we really take
it's just common sense to make those reductions.
No, it's not. I think common sense is actually should be a more holistic and a more inclusive system and a more understanding. We do not understand half of what's happening.
You think people should be outraged by what I just did?
I'm saying that you're doing that to prove a point. I'm saying, do we? Mostly people will not, because they will not think about what else is happening there. As I say, when you go to some of the extreme Buddhist systems, they will go, I know you're not that, but they would say, okay, you're jumping and you're killing maybe a little bee or a little animal under the soil. Maybe, or you are, and they will walk with a little brush in front of them and clean the pathway in order not to even step on an ant.
Right.
Now that is taking.
But there's a difference between unintentionally causing harm and objectifying someone.
Ignorance is no excuse before the law.
We shouldn't adhere to what's called Nirvana fallacy, i.e., if we can't be perfect, we shouldn't bother. And what a misconception.
I'm not saying that. We should absolutely bother. We should absolutely bother, but veganism is not the way to solve the problem. It should be part of a more inclusive system. So I think there we're not gonna get past that disagreement.
No.
So anyway, that was cool.
All right, thanks for your time, sir. Cheers.
Okay, have fun.
Look after yourself.
Content over everything.
From your man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to I.
If you're watching this, you saw this guy get attacked, yeah, even though a lot of people look at you and be like, this guy's, maybe he's an aggressor with his face, balaclava out, is the last thing people were expecting from you looking like this, that they thought you might do something. Instead, it shows us not to judge a book by its cover, because this man had mercy and forgave the guy, yeah? So, no, we're not Christians. No. What it means is he was the better person. You get what I'm trying to say? And he, exactly. So, no, not trying to Islam.